Welcome to Inside the Firm, a podcast dedicated to small business owners and hosted by entrepreneurs, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko. Each week, they take you on their journey of how to start, run, and grow a business by bringing you inside their architecture and real estate development firm. Get a behind-the-scenes tour of how these business leaders manage their clients and foster company culture while creating new and innovative projects. And now your hosts, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko.
Welcome to another episode of Inside the Firm. I am your co-host, Alex Gore. I'm here with our other co-host, Lance Get Her Done Cayko.
Is that my name today?
We have a great episode for you today. I'm going to just talk about how architects and engineers are crazy in a good way. Talk to you about home sales, and then we're responding to, a post on LinkedIn. So that will be exciting. Before we go any further, we got to pay the bills. And the best way to pay the bills is to make money for yourself. And how you can make money for yourself is more responsibility, more reward. Go to revitrocketship.com. Teach you and your team how to be productive, how to model like it gets built, and take on that responsibility so that you have smoother, cleaner projects and can make more money. revitrocketship.com. Lance.
Back to me as I'm playing with GPT ahead of my segment. If you can't find the product data you're looking for, you might be using the wrong search engine. Broad searches result in consumer products, out-of-date information, and websites that hide or don't have the information you're looking for. If you need specifications, CAD or BIM, arcat.com is your search engine. Find and download the up-to-date data you need fast. arcat.com is free and requires no registration, so try Arcat today. That's arcat.com.
Okay, so I was watching this YouTube video, and it was on the manufacturing process of making like a consumer product, right? And the person was basically stressing the point is people think that they can go basically to a manufacturer with an idea and maybe some sketches and then be like, can you build this? And it was about 20 minutes, and I thought it was insightful and very true about like, no, like you have to, one, have everything designed. You have to have CAD. There's a whole bunch of nuance between designing something for 3D printing versus like injection molding, just because of the way like the injection molds work. Like you should actually have slight angles to it. All like just going into all this details. And then he's like, well, you need an electrical wiring diagram. You got to make sure like heat transfer isn't happening so much. You need to have an assembly, instructions or testing, or at least have a way that it's tested, constructed, and a way that it is tested. And it all makes sense because you think like, oh, they're going to build this 100,000 times, however many times they're going to make this product. I think I was watching that on the way into work. And it was in the back of my mind. And then I was sitting down with one of our architects, and we were going over this 24,000 square foot building that we're doing. And I'm like, this is crazy. We do everything in a different sense that person said for manufacturing for each product that we make.
I know. I mean,
this is crazy.
I was just telling Jen this. I was like, I tried to explain. So for the construction side of things, the first people that we hired and the people that we have moved up into now admin positions, actually a superintendent and a foreman, and then eventually two superintendents. They started out never doing any construction, but they were mechanics, and I thought, this is a good idea, Lance. This is a great idea. Let's hire some mechanics who are sick of the mechanics industry and turn them into carpenters. And I thought it was a good idea because I'm like, they're already blue collar. They are looking for a new start. But the biggest reason was, they can use tools. Yeah. They can already use tools. They're already like men's men. Yep. The negative part about it, about turning a mechanic into a carpenter, is like they are coming from the manufacturing world into the non-manufacturing world, and they're used to putting together very precise parts that are like machined down to the millimeter. And I finally had to make the big analogy or the big example to them as I go, guys. So the drawings are scribbles on paper that we are then using to bang sticks together to make a building. Like that might sound like overly crude example, but
Sure.
it's pretty much true. I mean, we're taking organic pieces of matter and twisting them and moving them into place. And even when you're using steel, like it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't come out perfect. Maybe we need to cut a little bit of the beam back, stuff like that. Like even if we've reviewed shop drawings, trust me, we just put together this like steel roof on this turret. We had to make modifications.
Yeah.
It just was not perfect, no matter how hard we tried. And then there's the elements, right? So then we're dealing with the elements too.
Yeah.
And I don't mean just like gravity. I'm talking about, then it rains. Then there's wind. And then there's like all these crazy unknowns about utilities with the site that you might not even know. Maybe you go to put it in a water line. Maybe you try to go put it in a water line and you don't even know what you can and cannot do. And it's not even your fault because you're relying on documents from the owners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it is a very difficult industry, and I don't know if there's any unwinding of it to get towards manufacturing.
You're almost exploring both sides of this because what I'm getting at is like we're doing the steel structure. It's like, we're gonna have to figure out how the steel structure is. We're gonna have to coordinate that with HVAC, right? Which means like how it's being installed, when it's being installed, and then we're gonna have to do like the connections, and then these connections have to line up to make this building and all this other stuff. And then you go to the other side where like I haven't had this question. It came from our mechanics turned carpenters. And they were talking to me about like, because in our drawings, we are now trying to coordinate, and I had to tell them like, to get a family that is a header family, that is a king stud family, that's family. And to get it to work in the architectural set and the structural set and to represent what's going on is actually like a huge feat. Like, because there's all these nuances to it. And they were talking to me like, almost making it seem like, we should make it so that it accounts for the ROs. Because what I said is like, one of their concerns was like, this opening isn't going to fit because the RO is going to be a little bit different. Well, there's basically like a stop point in the middle that they can't go any farther. Be like, well, then the window would just move like 3/4 of an inch, like up the page. Like there's no other way to do it. Like, and like, are we really, we can't do this because I know, but it's hard to explain like, no, we can't model in all the ROs because they're all different for every single window and stuff like that. Like you got to see the plans and be like, I know some architects will freak out. They'll freak out because 3/4 of an inch is a huge deal in some things. They'll be like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, move it 3/4 of an inch. Like, why is my brain even thinking about this?
Well, and then like, let's say, so, I've been trying to really pound into our architects' heads. Like, let's try to have a little bit more empathy for the field. Let's really think through details. So there's this detail that we tried to build in the field. We designed it, and now we built it, and now I'm realizing, wow, that didn't work. Like, shoot, I even looked at the detail. Like, I thought it was a good detail.
Oh, sure.
And it just ends up being like wood. They're 2x10s. They ended up being a little bit bigger. Like they're like, instead of 9 1/4, they're like 9 1/2. And then once we add the hangers on, then it became like 9 3/4. And then because of like just the way things lined up at the top of these, where we're trying to line things up, then they became about 10 1/2 inches. Which means our whole detail got kind of blown to shit in the field. So then I was having to call back the structural engineer and going like, hey, this is a weird request. I'm trying to get back to the end goal.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been dealing with this for like a month. And so it's like, geez, what a trial and error. Even when we're trying to be empathetic and give more like more just tolerances, like we're trying to give inches, we're trying to like, I guess we got to give more than an inch. It's just this experiment that is now building is like an experiment. It is, right? Like you're predicting how it's going to go. You're suggesting how it's going to all go together with the drawings. Then you're like, okay, let's see if it works.
Yeah.
And you think and mostly it works. But then there's those few things where like, God, like we really tried hard and it didn't work, right? And so it's got me thinking. Here's where you really got me going with this whole like the sticks and the banging them together thing. is, I'm not joking, like in our contractor contracts now, I want to have just a checklist that says client understands we are building with wood, which is subject to, twists, weens. Like, it's not going to be perfect. Like I want to have Brett review it. I'm not joking. Just to kind of like set expectations.
Well,
for like tolerances, like people don't even know that there's like, I don't even know I'd have to ask ChatGPT right now, but like what the tolerance is for having a wood that it can be like within so many feet, it can vary like by a quarter inch, shit like this.
Yep. But that's what's so crazy too, is because I was just talking to a builder and he was talking about and he was kind of saying there can be architectural sets that are 40 pages and it's like, it's not necessary. But getting back to what you're talking about, like this led to a quarter inch, another quarter inch, another quarter inch. I know clients, clients where like they've seen that and then they're like, oh, that's like a half inch off in built environment and the plans don't depict it that way. And then the other side of the building drawing equation is he mentioned this too. It's going to be a 9-page set. It's barely anything on it. And I think it goes to like, okay, what are the client's expectations?
Yeah.
What are the are they like, here's the general thing. We're going to try to go in that way. I've looked at pictures of your other stuff. I want it to look like that. Versus like, oh, you want this to be, here's the thing. If you want it to be a manufacturer level product, which is also a lot of times a commercial level project, okay, 7 to 15% architecture fee.
Yeah, yeah, and then
you know what I mean, like that.
Then general contracting fee 25%. I mean, just like crazy stuff. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah,
that's the difference. There is what are those expectations, and those expectations come with fees.
Yeah. So no matter what you're doing, right? It's all about setting these expectations. I think that's the conclusion here.
How do you communicate that to the client? Like, if you want the 9-page set, you better be very flexible. And your fee will be lower. If you want the 40-page set, that you want something deep, like detailed out, and your fee better be flexible.
Gosh, look, I just signed one of the bigger, more prominent residential projects of the year recently, and I had a 2-hour meeting with me, the owner, and the builder, and it was just like the amount I took like 4 or 5 pages of notes.
Yep.
And then I sent a proposal, spent an hour or two on that. Then I had another hour-long phone call, Zoom meeting with the owner, going over all of the objections to the proposal, right? And he ended up signing with us. And I'm going to bring it up here. I'm not going to show it on the screen, but the last time that the last thing that he ended up saying when he signed was something like, "You guys trust me," but let me read it real quick here. Survey proposal, where is it at? Yeah, I don't know, I can't find it, but that's what he was just like,
"You guys get me.
You guys get me." Let me see here, proposal. I gotta look it up. And this is the point. I think this is the point of this segment here, real quick. Come on. Why can't I find it? Oh man.
Google search is terrible in email. It's terrible.
Why has it gotten so bad?
I don't know. It likes to show you everything rather than.
Yeah. Come on. No, it's not Blower. Why can't I find it? I don't know. I've been reading it to people because I've been really happy with what he said when he hired us. It was long story short, it was something to the tune of, I really feel like you guys are listening to me.
Yep.
And that's why I went with you. And I'm surprised that most vendors don't. So it's like, back to your, okay, are you doing the 9-page proposal or the 90-page proposal or set of drawings?
Yep.
Set of drawings. You're just seeking to understand the whole time during that client meeting. And if they are insisting on no, I just need you to do minimal drawings. And you can say, okay, we can do that. It's not going to, this is just me spitballing. We can do that. Maybe it's probably not going to save you that much money. It will save you a little bit of money. But then we're also going to make sure you initial here and say, I understand I need to be flexible or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't, yeah. I understand 90% of the details are not ironed out, and I am okay with that.
Yeah.
Hard transition.
Oh, good. Let's hard left here.
Existing home sales in September
No!
fall to lowest
Al Gore.
level since
Terrible.
2010. If you scroll down to the graph,
Scrolling down.
actually, no, I'll read the first sentence.
Oh.
Sales of existing homes fell in September as house hunters remained on the sideline despite mortgage rates easing during the month. I think everyone's waiting for spring. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I think they've held out this far. They want a couple more rate drops. So existing home sales fall to 14-year low. Basically, this is how many units of existing homes were sold. And the highest, October 20,
Jeez, that's a
2020,
headline.
6.7 million.
Jeez, Al.
6.7.
Look at this pandemic stuff.
Yeah, it went
Oh my
from
God.
5.7 straight down to 4. 5.7 to 4, and then up to 6.7. Holy.
I know multiple
Dude.
people with houses that have just went on the market and that are going to go on, and it is not looking good for you.
And the actual
Yikes.
sales now are 3.9 million. 3.84.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
It looks like the average is more around that 5.5.
I wish I could take this graph and like pull it left so I could see what's going on in 2009.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, that's not good news. All right. My turn for transition?
Yep. Make it a hard one.
Cool. Here we go. We're going over to LinkedIn. Ryan Shoup posts. He's an architect out of New Jersey. I thought this was fascinating. And then I want to show you. I asked ChatGPT to help me out with this, and it kind of did, but it didn't. But if anybody who is a practicing architect in Colorado and they can point me to the equivalent, that's part of the purpose of this post. When responding to code official comments, I always begin at the very end of the rope that involves zero change in construction costs. Sometimes all they need is a reference to a code section, a reference to a drawing, or a spec already in the CDs, or some other simple thing that can easily and completely fits on the letter size page. These usually involve little time commitment. If it's something more than that, it may either be that the permit submission is deficient or the official is asking for things they shouldn't be. Your state should have regulations that define what information is required in a permit submission set. So that's when I saw that, I went, does Colorado? In New Jersey, he goes on to say, this is described in detail NJAC 5 colon blah, blah, blah. So, you know, I'm going to say it. I'm actually going to say it out loud here.
Okay.
Sorry, I have to. Only because Al shook his head. It's NJAC 5 colon 23 2.15 I want to find that code in Colorado, but so somebody help me out here. A particularly relevant excerpt is below. Other states that likely have similar text. Plans submitted shall be required to show only such detail and include only such information as shall be necessary to demonstrate compliance with the requirements of the code and these regulations or to facilitate inspections for code conformity. If the official is asking for things they shouldn't be, font sizes, then and the client feels this is unfair, different weird line weight comments, remind them that there are political remedies for government employees who aren't doing their job. So I went and asked ChatGPT. I said, I told it, hey, read this. And what it said is it said in Colorado, the regulations that define what information is required in a permit set depend on the local jurisdiction. So what they say is the state of Colorado does not have a single unified regulation for building permit submissions as building codes, blah, 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 the county and municipal level. But what do you think? Do you think there's something?
That helps a little bit, but it still gives them so much wiggle room to say, oh, there's your sump pump. Okay, where is it now ejecting? Okay, thanks for that. How big is the pipe? It's like they could say, yeah, I need to be able to enforce that pipe, that you're not putting a small pipe in there. You know what I mean? Like,
they could just keep going.
And then they could say, how big is the wire? And you'd be like, why are you asking this? Be like, well, I need to know how big the wire is, because what if you put a small wire? Like,
I don't know if going back to them and citing. I'm with you. Like, I don't know if going. Let's say it's like COAC, blah blah blah. I don't know if citing that code is going to be helpful. I don't know if going code to code with them in that kind of a way is going to be helpful. Or like government to government makes sense.
Yeah. I think the best strategy is not that, because that's what they swim in, you know? What is after the third round is like, you get the clients. You say, clients, feel free to reach out and express your dismay.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. So, cool. That's all we got for you. Short and sweet. Me and Al are headed to the Bond Custom Conference in Los Angeles. If you want to check us, you should DM us. Send us gifts, all the good things. Leave us a 5-star review. We'll see you next week.